Robert, can you go tell everyone to come in? We're going to start. So I can start when I got everyone's attention. I'll know I have your attention when your lips stop moving and you look up this way. All right. Hey, well, welcome, guys. Welcome. If you want to find a chair. Just one quick announcement, or a couple quick announcements. Glenn Holloway is at table 13. Wave to us, Glenn. Over here. So we have a medical team here at the road. They're meeting tomorrow night here in the sanctuary, 6:30. Glenn and his wife, Pam, they do an amazing job. So if you're interested, at 6:30 tomorrow night here in the sanctuary. Gary Wilkes was just in Kenya. He just got back, and I think Rex went with him too. And so Gary's going to tell us just a quick couple minutes about his adventures.
Bwana asifiwe. That means praise the Lord in Swahili. God is so good. Great is his faithfulness. All I have needed, he hath provided. And that was the theme for this trip. God provided the vision, the team, and the finances to go over to Kitale, Kenya, and plan out a trade school that's going to transform lives. So we went with an amazing team. Rex Barber, are you in the house? Stand up if you're in the house. All right. So Rex led the team from Engineering Ministries International, team of architects, civil engineers, structural engineers from the United States, Uganda, and South Africa. And these guys did an incredible job designing an entire campus to teach the trade. So we're going to be teaching automotive, motorcycle repair, welding, electrical, plumbing, masonry, woodworking, tailoring, and we'll have a culinary school. We're going to have dormitories, workshops, classrooms, a whole 9 yards. So this is a first step in a huge venture. So all we need to do now is scrape together about 1.5 mil, and it'll be done. So that's the next challenge. But thank you, prayer warriors. I know some of you guys were praying for our team when we went over there. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Gary. Let's give him a round of applause. It's amazing things they do there. Hey, those of you that were at our men's advance, there was an announcement that said if you want to sit with your group that was at the men's advance, it's okay to go ahead and do that. Well, it creates a logistical nightmare if people just get up and move to a different table without their table leader here knowing about it. And so if people want to move to their table that they're at the men's advance, come see me, not all at once, but I can do it. But we have, counting the guys that come part-time, 680 men, okay? And so it's a nightmare to try. Last week, 40 people wanted to change in a matter of 5 minutes. And I mean, my brain is pretty small to begin with, you know what I mean? So cut me some slack. And if you want to move, if your table leader knows that, and you want to sit with the other guys, because we want you to be connected with the people that you're connected with. So I don't mind as long as we know about it. Here's another reason why it's good that we know where you're sitting is if someone doesn't come to a particular table for 4 or 5 weeks in a row, I take them off that table. I keep them on the spreadsheet. If they come, I know where they're supposed to be. But it allows me to put other people at that table, and so we don't have to have a new table. So last week we had 17 new people. I was able to plug them into the different tables without having a new table started, because we want 7 guys at every table at least. So I just ask for grace and patience. So if you want to move, let me know. So Steve, why don't you come on up? Steve's got a great message this morning.
We have a lot of announcements on Tuesday mornings because there's so much happening that's so exciting. And you know, a lot of guys are losing their jobs right now because they're choosing not to get vaccinated or wear a mask. And I have a young adults group called the New Breed Leaders Group, which is always on Monday nights. And so I have these 10 couples that are all in their 20s that are taking stands in different ways in their work. And one of them is Gabe Burak, who is a history teacher, a high school teacher who resigned. God told him to resign in the midst of the mask mandates for D11. And I was so proud of him. Not that everybody makes that choice. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to tell you what to do, but he followed his conscience. And that's what matters, is that you follow what God's telling you to do. You obey him. But because of that, and then on Sunday, we had everybody who was either in the midst of maybe losing their job because of the stands that they were taking, or had lost their job for the stands that they were taking, come up front. And we probably had at both services 30 or 40 that got prayer. So this is an important announcement in that there's an opportunity at Compassion. Bill Mounts, where are you, Bill? Where's your table? So Bill's over here. See him with the, hold your hand up, Bill. Bill is head of facilities at Compassion, and there's some openings there. So if you have electrical background or just maintenance background or would like to work in facilities, they're taking applications right now. So that is an opportunity for you. Also, school board elections are coming up, and we're involved in that, and we've had a church voter guide. And what happened with the church voter guide was that we did it for the city council elections. I think we turned one election because of Christians voting and got a liberal out of there. And so if you're a liberal out there, we bless you, but I'm just going to tell you, we're kind of conservative here. So, but the school board elections, we're going to do it again. And what happened was Andrew Womack, who's a really good friend of mine, and Richard Harris, who's his chief counsel up at Charis Bible, they saw what we did, and they wanted to do their own voter guide, church voter guide. And so I dropped the voter guide we were doing and had Richard and Andrew run with theirs. And then Haim, who I'll introduce in just a second, who was really the one who birthed the church voter guide. As we looked at what they were doing, we felt like ours was different enough that we should stay with ours. So here's why I'm making the announcement is if you would like to help us with the church voter guide, because we need some manpower on everything from probably design to actually getting it out to churches. It was highly successful a year ago. So we want to do it again, and we're going to do it again. So Haim, where's Haim? Okay, Haim's right here. So he's got a clipboard, and we need a team. And when we were doing it before, we had about 7 or 8. We'd love to get 10 more. So if you are involved in politics or you'd like to step into the arena of sort of the political sphere, this would be a great way to get your feet wet in understanding the issues. And what we do is we send them about 6 or 7 very pointed questions that each school board candidate has to fill out. And it gives churches across the city the opportunity to see what people stand on. Like we got 10 people running for school board for 3 positions in District 20. That's kind of where we are right now, District 20 here. And at least six are conservative. So you see the problem? The problem is it's going to split the vote, and there might be liberals that'll get in. So this is important that we do this right, and we have this available to churches and stuff, because the vote is in the churches. I mean, we can mobilize really, really well, and that's what we're going after. So anyway, talk to Haim, talk to Bill. I want to do something different this morning in that I've never given this message before because I never thought of it until a few days ago, the way I'm thinking of it now. But having come off the Wholehearted Advance, I just felt like that it was important to take a different tack as far as our hearts and our lives for men. So this morning, I want to call it this is 41 years of ministry. I've been in 41 years. So I've run a Bible college. I've taught at a Bible college. I've been a missionary in Japan and all over Asia. I've been a pastor for 27 years. So I've been around a lot of leaders. And I've seen a lot of leaders fall into sin. I've seen a lot of great people make bonehead decisions that end up destroying their ministries, their marriages, their families, and their lives. And so I want to talk this morning real briefly about the 5 biggest stumbling blocks of leaders. The 5 biggest stumbling blocks of leaders. Now there's 20 stumbling blocks, okay? But I'm just talking about 5. And this is my opinion, okay? I can't say that, I mean, everything I'm going to say is biblical, but the Bible doesn't necessarily say anything that's this concise, okay? So when I mention these 5, I think these are the biggies, okay? And I think these are important. I believe that every one of these areas, all of you, including myself, struggle with as men. So here's the first one. The first one, and this is the most important one. These are actually, at least the first 2 are in order of importance, and then from there they're all important. But the first one is neglecting, write these down now, and if you don't write these down, then I don't know why you're here, okay? So neglecting PB&J, and that's not peanut butter and jelly, that's prayer, Bible, and journal, neglecting PB&J and growing cold spiritually. Neglecting, another way to say it is neglecting time with the Lord, time alone with the Lord each day, and growing cold spiritually. Guys, you have to stay hot. You've got to stay hot. If you don't stay hot for the Lord, you will be cold and you'll become hot for the enemy. Because the reality is that if you don't, just like a fire pit. I had a fire pit yesterday. It was kind of a chilly day. I like to go out and study at my fire pit in the backyard of my house in Black Forest. And I was back there, and then the rain started to come, right? And I went in because it was raining on me, and my computer was getting wet and all that. And I knew that within 20 minutes, the fire would be out. Because I wasn't going to nurture it. I wasn't going to stir it up and keep it strong. And that's what happens in our spiritual lives. If you don't keep daily time with the Lord, some kind of a schedule, some kind of a holy habit, as it were, of spending time alone with the Lord, and I think PB&J is a good way to remember it, prayer, Bible, and journal, then you're not going to continue to be on fire for God. You're going to grow cold. It's just natural in anything. If you don't work out, you atrophy, you start gaining weight. If you don't watch your diet, you'll gain weight. So it's a law of the kingdom. It's a kingdom law of the universe that as you stir up your relationship with God and stay fired up, God's going to bless you. He's going to strengthen you. You're going to be fired up each day. But if you start to neglect that, and how many have neglected PB&J before? And the rest of you are liars, because you know you have. And so PB&J is something we all struggle with, and I believe in journaling. I mean, one guy said, when you talked about that journaling thing, I thought, that's so sissy. That's like what sissies do. Girls do journals, and I said, well, good. Then they're smarter than us. Okay, so what a journal does, it helps you put down on paper what God's teaching. You guys realize that that you have 80% better retention if you write something down. So that's why I'm big on taking notes. And that's why you're not going to get any sympathy from me if you're sitting here right now, you're not taking notes, you don't care, and then you're screwed up. Okay, you screwed yourself up. Okay, and so, people who are serious athletes, and I was a serious athlete for a big part of my career, was that I went and trained with some of the best Olympians in the world during that time. And man, I took note. Now that was mental note. I took mental note of how these guys trained and how they worked out, and then I copied them. I just copied them. And I never was an Olympian, but I was trying to be, right? Okay, number 2. So neglecting PB&J and growing cold spiritually is number 1. Number 2, neglecting church attendance and bloodstained allies. Now, I put those 2 together because church attendance is being in a congregation in the atmosphere of fired up people. At least at the road they are. And I can't speak to your church. Your church may be a dead church. But most churches that are word and spirit churches, I think, are probably pretty fired up. So you've got to go to church, and it's important. And there's a lot of negativity out there these days about going to church. Oh, I go up, and I'm in the mountains. I'm close to God. Okay, great. That's fantastic. But you're not close to people. And you need people, and you need blood-stained allies, guys. You guys know that. That's the reason we have tables in here. That's why you're here. Probably some of you come here as much as you do to your church. That's great. I think it's beautiful. Do both. But don't neglect church attendance. There's something about being in worship that's powerful. Look, I didn't think this stuff up. This is God's idea. I mean, Acts chapter 2, the church was born because the Holy Spirit fell, and it was God's idea. The church is God's idea. And you disobey God's idea on something that basic, you're headed for trouble, man. You're headed for trouble. And soon as, here's what happens with a lot of guys, is you start messing around. You start messing around at work with the secretary. You start messing around with going to bad movies and things like that. And the next thing you know, you sleep in on Sunday. Oh, it's just once, and then it's twice a month. Then it's 3, and then we never see you again. See it all the time. And then that's when they come to me. And I have no time for you. And they go, what? And I said, where have you been? Well, this happened and that happened. And I said, well, you know what? I spend time with leaders who want to grow. So you show me the next 6 weeks you're at church, you get in a small group in the next 6 weeks, I'll meet with you. But I'm wasting my time and wasting your time, you say, well, my marriage is falling apart. And I go, well, you screwed it up. So how long did it take you to screw up that marriage? And then they usually say well, the last 2 years have been really bad. Well, it's going to take you 2 years to get out of it. So if you're going to call me on my day off on Friday, I'm not answering your stupid call. Because if it took you 2 years to get into this mess, I'm not going to run over to your house and try to help you unless she's got a gun at your head. And then if she's got a gun at your head, call 911. Okay? So church attendance and bloodstained allies, you need those things. Number three. Unwilling, listen, this is really, really important. You ought to circle this one. Unwilling to seriously deal with lust. Unwilling to seriously deal with lust. This is a big one for guys. It's actually becoming a bigger one for women too because of the porn industry and how it's just, we're getting inundated. I can't tell you how many young ladies have gotten involved with old boyfriends from high school. They're in their 50s now because of Facebook or something. And so it's happening with women too. But this is our struggle, guys. Every guy in this room struggles with lust. And you can't go unchecked in that area. You've got to put safeguards up. You've got to just realize you're up to no good without bloodstained allies. You're up to no good without safeguards. You got to have safeguards. And, and I won't name any names, but there's been a lot of prominent pastors in Colorado Springs alone that have fallen into lust and lost their ministries and lost their churches. Breaks my heart. Most of them are friends of mine. And so they didn't put safeguards up. They did at one time, and they were very successful. Remember what I said at the Wholehearted Advance. Unless your fierce love for God and passion for Him is greater than your fierce lust for sin, you'll be half-hearted. You will be half-hearted unless the fierce love for God overwhelms the fierce passions of your flesh. And so it's not just about, I got to quit lusting. It's about, I got to start getting fired up for God. And so the positive outweighs the negative. Okay? But we're passionate creatures. You guys are passionate. It's a good thing to be passionate. It's a good thing. Those are good things. And the reason most of us are married is because God wants to fulfill those desires in our lives for a partner with intimacy involved in it. But even when you're married, you still struggle with it. We all do. And so unwillingness to be seriously dealing with lust. Number 4, not putting in the time and effort to nurture your family and your marriage. Not putting in the time and effort to nurture your marriage and your family. It's hard to be married. Women are weird, and they come from a different country, man. You almost need to get a passport to get married because you're entering a different culture, different language. They have a different language, right? And yet you're supposed to love her as Christ loved the church. In my book on marriage, probably the biggest area that I get the most comments on is that part I talk about in Ephesians 5 about loving your wife as Christ loved the church. What did Christ do? He left heaven. He came to earth. He left sinless heaven and he came to sinful earth and he became like us in one sense. And then he died here. He died for you and me. So you have to leave your masculine male world. You have to enter into her female world, and you will die there. It's hard as hell. It's hard as hell to be married. And you enter that world, and you better crucify yourself because it's tough, and it's hard to be married. And what happens is when guys become so selfish that all they think about is themselves, their own happiness, their own sexual desires, or whatever it might be, hunting, fishing, whatever. And you guys know I'm an outdoorsman, but I was telling the group last night, you have a kid or two, times 3 in my case, plus 1, 7. You start taking them everywhere. You can't go hunting without a kid coming along. You can't go fishing without a kid coming along. I haven't skied looking forward down a hill in 25 years. I'm always going backwards down the hill helping kids learn how to ski. But I love it now. And because I did it and I put the effort in, I got a great family and I got a great wife and everybody's fired up for Jesus and it's awesome. But man, it was hard. So put in the effort, and when you quit doing that, you get yourself in trouble. Number 5 is excessive focus on worldly success. Excessive focus on worldly success. Now, you guys know, or maybe you don't, because some of you are new, but those who know me know that I'm a big believer in multiple streams of income. Don't just have one stream. Look for multiple streams of income. Try to get out of debt. I'm debt-free, and I own 3 houses. So I've got a house in Fairplay, I got a house in Briargate, and I've got the house I live in Black Forest. It took 60 years to get there. But, when I was 60, I wanted to be debt-free. When I was 60, I was debt-free. So I'm a big believer in making as much as you can, saving as much as you can, and giving as much as you can. And so I've always been a giver, okay, financially, 10% or more. And some years it's way above that. Sometimes it's about that. It's different with different years. So I'm just saying I'm not a poverty mentality pastor. I want 100 millionaires coming out of this church in the next 10 years. Because you guys start businesses, and you start making things happen, and you make an impact even in business, in our culture. I want you to do that. I'm for you. I'll be behind you all the way. But excessive focus on worldly success destroys your family, it destroys your marriage, and it destroys you. And you become a machine, just pumping it out. And I want to challenge you that the best and most successful men are men who have got tremendous balance to their life. And when they take a day off, they take a day off. And they get rid of that stupid phone for a day. And don't be in the presence of your kid and your wife while you're sitting there, worshiping at your iPhone. I want to challenge you, turn the flipping thing off. And I think Chick-fil-A is a great example. When they decided they're not going to be open on Sundays, everybody said that was crazy. Well, you need a day off. You need to be taking days off, and when you come home, whatever time that is, come home. Be all there. Okay? So excessive perspective on worldly success means your brain is always thinking about more, more, more. And you know where you need the more is with your family. They need you. They need more of you. And I believe God will bless it. He's blessed me. Golly, I can't even believe where I'm at just by little decisions that I made. And just, making choices where I remember in one situation, I saved up all this money, and I asked 5 financial planners what I should do. And they said, buy 3 rentals. Put down 15, 20% on each one, And now you got 3 houses. You can start building all these rentals and everything else. So I just did the numbers in my head, and I went, well, wait, if just one rental isn't being rented, I lose all the profits from the other 2 because I'm having to pay this over here. I said, I'm not doing that. I'll buy one, and I'll pay it off. I'm going to pay one, and I'm going to keep somebody in there. I can handle that because here's the reason I came to that conclusion. I'd rather have peace of mind than a larger bank account. And guess what? I've got a larger bank account and peace of mind because I did what God said to do. So let me just challenge you guys that when you live that way, it's joyful. It's really exciting. So there you go. So here's some questions. Is there a stumbling block? Somebody put an A in there. That's supposed to be an S. Is there stumbling blocks you're struggling with? One of these, just talk about one. Don't talk about all of them. Because some of you probably struggle with all of them, right? And I do too sometimes. But what's the one? How can you be helped in your stumbling block? How can that group help you? And then what needs to change in your life in order to see victory in that area? All right, so bless you guys. And one thing I want to close with is, I mentioned this on Sunday, and from time to time I mentioned the idea of renewing your mind. And this is one of my favorite books, Systematic Theology by Wayne Grudem. And you look at that and you go, there is no way I'm going to ever read that book. This is a great resource, and it's in paperback now. And it looks daunting, but it's not. But I just encourage you, another resource that you might have in your library. All right, so God bless you guys. And then you guys that are newcomers, just head out. And then we're going to go to the end of the lobby and turn right and go in the library.